You're a rom-com villain, dude. You're literally a rom-com villain. The thing we've been talking about is what expectations did you have from culture? So, like, I think for us, there's going to be two blends here. There's going to be, like, just general culture, which I think everybody has impact their sex and relationship life. And then there's I think for us, the religious side, which was a big part of our culture, which religion never screwed up anyone's sex life. So,
Totally.
Let's just round robin really quick. What was like a big misconception that you had about either relationships or sex or both when you first got married?
So I was expecting more sex.
Okay. Fair.
More sandwiches.
More
that was
sandwiches.
a thing. I thought you just get made sandwiches all the time. Yeah.
I make you food all the time.
Well, they're not sandwiches.
Oh, sandwiches. So. Okay, I will make you more sandwiches.
This is a good learning opportunity, I think.
Yeah, good learning opportunity.
No, the sex thing was definitely a big one just because, well, again, it's amplified by being religious growing up.
When we got married.
Yeah, because we were virgins when we got married. No, I thought there'd be more sex because, well, that's just what you're kind of trained to believe when you're growing up religious is like you get zero sex, but then after you're married, it's a playground and you can do whatever you want.
What?
Like, well, that wasn't necessarily true because we don't know how to have sex.
Yeah.
Like,
That was the biggest shocker for
like
sure.
we knew how to have sex, but we didn't know how to have sex.
I never pictured sex as a sport that you have to like. Well, like
Wow.
I'm saying though, okay, hear me
Props
out
to
here
you
though.
guys.
Up top.
I don't want to high five that. I'm just saying though, I definitely like my perception of it was for sure that like once you have it's gonna be this same thing. Culture was magical moment that was gonna happen, and it was just like yes, like I definitely felt closer to you than ever, but it was like, but then it was, I think it was more the second time for me, because the first time I felt like it was going to be like, okay, this is a thing. But then like the second time I was like, oh, like this is like I don't know how to do this or like how to make this happen or like what, like it was definitely like, oh, you have to do this more to learn more how to do certain things. Like it's a sport.
Well, we didn't even think about it then though. At the time I was just like, oh, that's sex. So I guess we just won't do that very much, you know? So like,
ouch.
Oh my God.
We didn't have a lot of sex when we first got married.
Wow.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
How many times did we have sex on our honeymoon?
On our honeymoon, we had a lot of sex because that was like the goal of being
The goal of the sport.
Yeah.
The goal of the sport.
It was like 48 times in 15 days or something like
I don't even know if I need to do anything on this episode. I'm enjoying this
gonna
back
be the
and
therapist
forth.
over there. Okay, sorry, finish. I'll put my answer.
No, you were the one answering.
No, you finished first.
This was... You didn't hear that on the honeymoon.
No, but that's how I felt was like we, because of the way that we got married and how young we were and everything, it just was like once we're married, we can do all these things and it's probably going to happen a lot. And then you get married and you realize that like, oh, sex is not a massive part of marriage. And obviously through the years, as we've like gotten closer, even as a couple, that's changed. And then as we got better at sex, it's changed a lot because now it's completely different and totally reversed from when we first got married. But a lot of it was on me because like I didn't know how to pleasure a woman. Yeah. And
well,
so
that's
for
part
you,
of our.
It was like,
yeah.
well, this sex thing is like, it's okay, but it's not awesome.
Well, because that's how we're conditioned too from day one is that sex is for men, it's not for women. So it's like my duty to give that to you, but it was never like turned around of like, you can enjoy it too. Or you can do it just for you.
And Travis, you feel that we should go back to that. Because you were indicating sandwiches.
Now I have to do too much work. Right. And I don't like it.
Well,
okay.
Yeah. I mean,
no, it was at first, it felt like that at first though. It was like, this is for men and, flowers and dinner, that's for women.
Yep.
And so it was a drag.
And in return,
I
give it to you if you do that. Like it
was a drag for me to do the things for you, and it was a drag for you to do the things for me. But it was never looked at as like, oh, I can enjoy a good dinner with a bottle of wine, and you can enjoy sex, and that's not just okay, but it's actually the makings of a healthy relationship. Yeah, for sure. But when you're never allowed to explore any of that part of yourself, like I had never like had any insight into how a good sexual relationship worked. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like confession, I never even watched like actual porn.
They didn't have that when you were a kid. They didn't have phones and internet.
How long ago
I
was
did have
that?
Safe Eyes on all of our computers. My
makes
parents
it hard.
installed Safe Eyes. It does.
Or prevents it from keeping it hard. Prevents it from
It
being
keeps it
hard.
soft.
Safe Eyes.
Real flaccid.
Safe Eyes. Keeping it soft since 2007.
Bring it back together, guys. Let's not.
I think we're
But
onto
we had
something
Safe
here.
Eyes. We didn't have phones or anything. Like my best indication of porn was like 1:30 a.m. and you flip through the channels and you find a Girls Gone Wild infomercial. Did you ever watch those? Don't lie.
Eric's face. That's a yes.
Don't lie.
Absolutely.
I'm aware.
Don't lie.
I'm aware of them.
You're aware of them, of course. Yeah.
I was.
That
not
was
aware
like
of
the
them.
farthest I could, but they didn't actually show anything, obviously, because it's still on actual television. But like that was my version of that. So like
Like a bikini
when we got
was
married,
like, holy smokes.
right? Exactly. So when we got married, it was literally like a
Girls Gone Wild video in real life.
well, like I'm just saying I didn't know anything about
Yeah.
about sex. You just kind of think like, oh, you just kind of do this, and then 3.5 minutes later, on a good day, we're done. And then that's it.
How did that make you feel? No. Well,
So you keep saying 3.5 minutes in all these conversations, and I think our sex is a lot longer than that.
Well, now it is significantly
Okay.
longer than that, up top again.
Okay, why are we high fiving so much?
But back then it was absolutely not. And we didn't know that it should be.
Yeah.
You know, like it was just literally never ever talked about. It was
Yeah.
so taboo that you could not talk about it with anybody at any point. And then all of a sudden you like kiss each other on the altar, and now you're supposed to just like
Be sex
this
animals.
Well, that's
Sure,
that's
yeah.
the thing for me. Culturally, you're told to expect sex because, like, every show you watch, that's the stuff that really messed with your brain. Like, it's not porn. It's like that probably doesn't help, but it's like you watch any romantic comedy, you watch any show, it's like they're looking in each other's eyes, cut, like smash cut, literally smash cut to they're like banging picture frames off the walls, and they're like, their clothes are ripping off. And it's like that's not accurate, like that's like every sexual encounter if you watch on TV. And then within church, it was like, don't watch porn, don't talk about sex, don't think about sex. You'll get a girl to use to basically take care of all of that once you get married. That's really what it was. If they said it that bluntly, which sometimes they did, but it's like that mentality is what we were told. It's like you struggle with porn once you have sex, then you can have sex with your wife. It'll be okay. Just don't be doing this. And it's like, that's a lot of really unhealthy expectation for the wife because she has to be the porn star basically for you at your beck and call. And then for the guy, it's like your only view is that now I get to put this into something, which is like, that's a really scary.
Well, it's not a mutual thing.
Yeah.
It's like, this is for you, and she's the vessel.
And you're told women don't care about sex. That's a guy thing, which is something that I learned quickly.
And in cultural period, not just in
in
religion.
culture.
It's culture.
It's the women
period,
in the bikini dancing around, and the guy's like, yeah, and they like, that's something I learned very quickly because, Tara told me was like, I like sex too. I like to enjoy, but it's just a backwards way of thinking. But yeah, I would say early on, it was a weird time for me because I think if I would have got married right out of high school, it would have been a bad situation. I think what ended up hurting the other side was that I was hyper aware because I had been lucky enough to have some people say like, hey, through marriage counseling, like premarital counseling and some other things, like take your time. Women take longer than men to, get there, and like do this, plan on this, like it shouldn't be painful, do this. So like for me, I was terrified of the other side, which is like, I don't want to go on Fast and Furious and like, cause pain or do damage or all this stuff. So like the flip side, and Tara said she told you about this, I guess, but she was like,
I will find out right now.
But she said like she was upset because like I was too scared to do anything. So like I was trying to be like as gentle as possible, and she was like saying like, are we gonna go and do it? And it's like, so it was this weird split. I think it's better that I was on that end of the spectrum than the other,
Yes.
But it's still
probably,
Yeah, probably would assume so.
But it is still
shut your mouth.
yeah. I've been waiting a long time for this, but it's
You're the vessel. You're just a vessel. Oh, yeah, it's good that you didn't do that.
But it's still this thing, though, but I think over time, It's realizing there is a give and take, and they're
right. Well, but it's good for both parties. Like good sex is good for both parties involved.
Yeah. But the thing is, when you talk to most people,
more than both
and
parties.
the people that were teaching us in Christian schools, and the people that were teaching in churches, didn't have good sex. Like when you start thinking back on what you were told, it's like, oh, so and so didn't have a good sex life. Right. It was this very bad situation. So that's been the biggest shift for me. Is just like, how do you make it a communication thing of like, what's good for you, what's good for me, and speaking for experience, the better it is for the other person, it all comes back around. So,
yeah, right, exactly.
For sure.
Yeah, like that's really when our sex life just took off in the right direction, was when she started really enjoying it, when it became like a thing where like she was initiating it sometimes, and it was like I guess you actually really like this now, you know, and then that was like, but that was, I mean, multiple years after we were married. Yeah. It was,
and from like the girl's perspective, for me, like it was we were taught our entire lives from the religious aspect that we were literally not allowed to be sexual ever. Like you were never allowed to move your body that way. You're supposed to cover yourself up all the time, to where then you get married and it's like, now be a sex goddess, like be a stripper. Like you need to like in the bedroom, you need to learn, seduce your husband.
You're the porn
and
star.
Like talk about like the confidence issues, like all of that, like just
insecurities.
Like all of your insecurities, all of that, just like, and that's why it was like in the beginning. And then but then you're brainwashed to think that like, but it's for him. And if you want to be a good Christian godly wife, then you need to be this for him. And if you don't want him
to be looking at other chicks.
Exactly. And if he cheats on you, it's your fault that he's doing that because you didn't give him enough sex. So like keep giving him sex, because like this is what you're supposed to do. And like, yeah, I mean, it was rough. Like, and even you too, though, like the guilt side of it, which is super interesting to me though, because I've had this conversation very recently with a couple people that are like I'm close to. And like for me,
random people on the street.
No, I don't want to name people.
How's your sex life?
Just in proximity.
I'm just saying I'm not going to name people and their experiences, but like I've definitely, for me, like I never, like for whatever reason, well, we've had this conversation. I never had the like outlook that once I was married, it was fine. I was so that person, a rule follower, that like sex was bad is what I was taught the first literal 21 years of my life. So then when I got married, several years, if I'm being honest, even now, there's still times where like I have anxiety around sex because I was like conditioned to believe that it's bad. So like I never like had that light, like that switch in my head of when I got married. Now it's good. Like I still have so much guilt around sex because of the way that we were raised, that it was still something that like and not even sex, like being sexy period, like still has such like guilty connotations for me because it's still something that I was taught is bad and wrong.
I'm glad I don't feel guilty about being sexy, because I'd be guilty all the time. Am I right?
Oh yeah, totally.
Yes. But yeah, I mean, it definitely like, and it affects every aspect of your life. I mean, that's something that we don't talk about enough, of that, like, yes, number one, I think it starts in the bedroom, but like we've talked about in every situation in life, like it affects everything I do is my confidence level. And the more that's why I wake up sometimes at 3:30 to go to the gym, because for me, that's what helps me feel confident and helps me in every aspect of life when I feel good about myself. Not for him, for myself. Like when I'm feeling good about myself, then like I want to have sex more because I feel good about myself, or I want to do different things because I feel good about myself.
Well, I think that, sorry to cut you off, I think that like is a perfect segue into the cultural expectations thing, because like there's a lot of suppressive things, especially sexually, when it comes to religion, which I know that you were talking about, like even venturing outside of like normal sex positions, like how that could even start affecting,
or bringing toys in the bedroom, or all those things.
Yeah, like such taboo. In addition to what is like,
that's so sad missionary sex. I think that's so terrible. They corrupt sex with that.
But that's the problem, is like when that's in your head, and then you're like, oh, well, now we've been married for 4 years and all we've done is this thing, and it's kind of getting a little boring. For the first 2 months,
I could literally only have missionary sex because we were missionaries.
You were waiting so hard for that punchline.
It was an umbrella term. Everything, it's like that.
All sex was missionary sex. That's just what you thought it was.
Yes.
Yeah. But what I was going to say is the cultural expectations on the other side of things, with what, in regards to what you were talking about, which now I don't remember what that was.
You're saying versus being very suppressed and repressed. versus the cultural, which is like she's gonna have like a rockin' 6-pack and this, and then and he's gonna have a 6-pack.
Yeah, I was like, wow.
Jillian Michaels over here.
Right.
No. Hold on, let me restart that. No, you have the repressed Christian side, which is that sex is really bad, really bad, really bad, and then you have sex for procreation and she's going to initiate with like all this sexy stuff, and it's like, and then you go to the cultural side, and it's like it's the visual component of like he's going to have 6-pack abs, she's going to have double D's, and you're going to be like knocking picture frames off the wall, doing this
every single time,
yep. Versus like. It never goes deeper into the connection side, which there is I think a balance between the two somewhere, which is like, like you're like, I don't think any of us would say, I don't know, maybe, but like there's times where I'm like, oh, there was periods where I was more attractive physically, I mean, it's probably today, this is probably the peak, but no, there were times I was more attractive physically, or Tara would say there's times I was more attractive physically. Like we look at our wedding pictures and we're like, oh, that's both of our peaks, like right there, and then like, there's probably certain weeks or whatever that you're like, oh, last year at this time I looked way better or whatever. But it's like the attraction level can be the same because of all the experience you have over time. So like there's a lot of layers there that get mixed up when you lean too hard, I think, into one way or the other. Not to steal your answer, but I mean...
Yeah, and then there's just the cultural expectations too, like going from the side of not just religious side either. Like you also see, like that's what I was talking about earlier, was like I literally had to stop watching romantic movies for a period of my life. And it was because I felt so much like it was hurting our relationship which giving Travis credit for this, he's just a very logical person. We talked about that. We're very emotional people. He's very logical. And I don't know how many times you just be, okay, like then give me like an exact of like, okay, what would make you feel that way?
That's such a Travis.
It is, right?
Travis. What number of flowers do I need to bring each month to acquire your business?
Because argument number 3 about it,
fair.
where it was like,
yeah,
but you're not bringing me flowers. And it was like, but I brought you flowers like...
Jackie, how many flowers?
But I brought you flowers like 3 weeks ago though. So like...
that should be good till the end of this month, right?
Well, that's my question. It's like, so we're having this conversation now. I did do this within recent memory. Like, how often am I supposed to be doing this?
But it was every time I'd watch a romantic movie, that's when I wanted it. Because I just saw it, because instead of me thinking, because of my mind wandering to somebody else giving them to me, my husband should be giving them to me, because I just watched a romantic movie about how he just made this huge grand gesture of rose petals walking to the door. And like, he didn't do that for me this week. So like, where did it come from? It really was, though.
It really is like porn for girls.
Legitimately, though. It's the emotional aspect. Well, and honestly, too.
Well, it's like it's always this guy that like, the romantic movies just drive me crazy.
Well, I was going to say, though, also, too, though, it is true, though, because I don't like that type of guy. Like, if you were, I broke up with the guy that was like that because it overwhelmed me, and I don't want that.
That's exactly it, though. That's the thing. It's the fantasy, and it's where it's like, you see whatever, 27 Dresses or whatever the thing is. I love 27 Dresses. I fucking love that movie.
Of course
I love it. Katherine Heigl's so funny in that movie. Benny and the Jets. But anyway, but no, there's like 27 Dresses, and then you've got on the flip side, like you've got porn, but it's like if like most guys wouldn't say like that's my ideal spouse. Is like how she acts in like a porn video. You know what I mean? It's a fantasy that's
your stepsister isn't your ideal spouse.
Okay. This is going way off the rail. Oh, man. Well, okay, but it's a fantasy.
You don't want it, but you feel like you should. Like, there's times in your life where you're like, I just wish you were that.
And and you deserve that. Not even that you wish you that you deserve that.
Well, yeah,
like it's like the social media. It's the romantic movies. It's the fact. It is though. It's that you deserve that, and he's not. You deserve better than that.
That's the shit that drives me crazy in the romantic movies. Is when like the girls' friends are always like, "You deserve better. You deserve better. You deserve better." And then like you look at the situation, like the entire storyline of the movie.
No, you don't.
The entire storyline of the movie is like. This person was a piece of shit, and they were just like giving up on life. They're in their PJs. They never get ready or go outside, and they're like sitting on the couch and eating cereal all day. And then their boyfriend or girlfriend.
You're a rom-com villain, dude. You're literally a rom-com villain.
I know the exact romantic movie you're talking about right now. With Mila Kunis and...
Well, that one in particular, for sure, yeah. With
Forgetting Sarah Marshall?
Jason Segel, yeah.
Is that Forgetting Sarah
Marshall? Yeah, it's a hilarious movie, and I like it, but... But the entire premise is like, come on, like you gave up on life, and then your girlfriend left you, and because your girlfriend left you, you decided to start trying again, and then you became an attractive person again, and then this other girl started liking you, so you like duh. That's what happens if you're just gonna like be a piece of shit and like sit in your boxers all day and eat cereal and watch cartoons. Then like people aren't going to be attracted to you. Women aren't going to like you. If you're a woman, like men are not going to like you. You do not deserve better. Like the whole idea of like, I just deserve this because I'm alive.
Well, and that's
does
where
not make any sense.
For me, it comes back to the fact of like, you have to work on yourself. Like, that's where like personal developments come into like.
This is exactly what I was going to talk about earlier. Sorry to cut you off, but I totally lost my train of thought earlier. But that's exactly what I want to talk about was
freaking dominant.
Was
dude.
that they
I know, right?
I see the problem.
You
I see it.
They put the onus on the other person to make you happy.
Yes.
Is like my happiness is totally dependent on this other person that's involved in this relationship.
He's on a rant, leave him alone.
I'm not capable of doing it myself. Therefore, I need somebody else to drop everything in their life and tell me how amazing I am and put rose petals down and cancel their flight to London and drive back to my apartment and get on their knees and beg me to be theirs again. I need that to happen to validate who I am as a person so that I can be happy. And it's like, that's such a poisonous thing to teach people because that's not how life works. Yeah. Like you have, like it's your responsibility to make yourself happy and fulfilled. It's your responsibility to be a productive member of society, to push yourself to be better. And then that's what enables you to be able to connect with somebody else who's also doing that thing independently of you. And then when you come together, that magnifies that level of happiness that you've already found in life, you know?
Yeah. One thing I do want to ask, and I think this is a good way to kind of close this out, is, so we mentioned the two extremes here. So like there's the, I'm going to be the porn star for them. I'm going to be the rom-com boyfriend for her, which it's never going to meet the picture because no one can be a porn star 24/7. And no one can be a rom-com star.
And you don't want that, though. Like, that's not the point. You don't want it.
But no one can be your eternal source of happiness.
But here's the question, though. So you mentioned, like, if you work on yourself, when you work on yourself, you become a better person. You draw better people.
Right.
Okay. You need to work on yourself first. How do you make sure that you're working on yourself purely for you and not doing it? Because I see people do this all the time. I get broken up with. Now I get my revenge body. That was a TikTok trend just recently. I was like, so you're still serving them. Right. Like, do this for you. Yeah. How do you find that balance between, I'm going to go to the gym at 3 a.m. because I want to have abs for me, or I want to have whatever my goal is, or I just want to be able to breathe when I go up the stairs, Eric. You know, I want to, like, what's that goal for me versus like, you know, for me, it's like, oh, I can lose the dad bod. So maybe Tara will be like, how do you find that balance between for them versus for me?
That's a good
whole
question.
Another episode.
I don't really know it's tough for me to answer that because we've been married since I was 21. So it's difficult to know, like how to, like for somebody that breaks up with somebody and then wants to go do something.
Well, for you, like, for you, you brought it up. So like,
I was going to say, for me though, too, and thinking of that, like, and I think
I see what you're saying.
Like you go to the gym at 3, like obviously you're in shape. Like Travis is going to be like, oh, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but I know at this point he thinks I look good, but I'm way harder than myself than he is. And for me, I think, which also I feel like is a disadvantage because we've been married for so long. So I feel like I'm hyper paranoid about being a follower for him. So I feel like I'm very conscious of that because even like the whole religion aspect, everything in life, like he's just a more dominant person than me. So I feel like an insecurity of mine already is always trying to be like, who am I doing this for? Because at the end of the day, for me, I have learned for myself, speaking like from that perspective, is that I know that if I do something for him, I will never follow it completely through. That eventually I will, and I'll feel like a failure because at my ultimate, at the depth of it, I'm only doing it for him. I'm not doing it for me. And I've learned, like when we did 75 Hard, before I had Cassidy, I did that because for me, and I hear this all day, every day from people, is that like, you have to keep your promises to yourself. And so for me, that was just one of them of like, I needed to have that for me, not for him. And so I guess just like at my core, I've learned that if I do something for him, and I feel a little bit guilty for that because I feel like that like feels like it's because I don't love you the same way that I love myself. But I've learned that if I love myself, I will love him more. And I just feel like for me, that is it. It's that I know that if I make a promise to myself, even like we've talked about, we're going to do 75 hard just in March, like, so 31 days of 75 hard. And even that, I told him today when we were leaving the gym, I said, all I know is we need to make our like exact rules now if we're going to have any exceptions or whatever it's going to be, because I know going into it that like I'm going to like complete that for myself. I'm going to, whatever promise I tell myself when I started, I'm going to finish it for me, because like that is the biggest way. And coming from Travis, from different things that we've had, conversations that we've had, that I know that if I keep a promise to myself, that helps my confidence level more than anything. And at the end of the day, like that is what drives my confidence up more than anything.
And I think to piggyback on that too, like it's, and maybe this is different because I think some people do like being and I think that toxic people really like when they have someone that's trying to serve them constantly. But like, I've told, I mean, me and Tara have had this conversation a billion times because she's like, what do you like? Do you like this? Long hair, short hair, blah, blah, you know, and stuff. And like, truly for me, you know, like, I think this sounds super cliche or like I'm pandering to like all the women out there, but it's like, it really is for me. Like the times, like the sexiest thing to me is like confidence. Yeah. Like when I can tell that Tara feels good about herself or like, cause she carries herself different, like, and I can't make her do that. I can't be like, act confident. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. But it is that thing where like, when I can tell she feels good, then I'm like, you know, to me, that's awesome. Like, and it's the same thing. I think that's for pretty much any healthy person. Like when you can see that person's comfortable, that's attractive. I think it's a childish or high schoolerish thing to have to like idolize the girl that's like, oh, am I cute? I don't know. Like to me, that's like, I told Tara, I was like, if we get divorced and I'm on the market, I'm going to be like, next. Like, I want someone who's like, I look good. Like, if that's good for you, that's good. Yeah. You know, if it's not,
well, because that's the exact thing is that in a healthy relationship, in my opinion,
it's two confident people.
Correct. Yeah.
It's freaky sex
it's
together.
People.
That's it.
It's two people that would both be okay on their own.
Right.
When I was relying on him for my happiness, it was a constant up and down battle. Like being from an emotional person,
that to you. Yeah.
He can't. And it was when he was happy, I was happy. When he was mad, I was mad. I had no idea why I was mad though.
Or when he was sad. Wanted me to do.
No, but it's just his
that's
personality.
Not where happiness comes from.
If I read his mood as that he was happy, then like I was happy. If I read his mood, which you know, Travis, just like I do, like
I'm up and down. Thinking about you think business, you're up and down? I'm up and down.
Okay. But like it did, like, and it was just like, and at that point, like it was very much like I cannot live. It was very much a choice for me. I cannot live like this anymore. Well, like he can have his own emotions when he wants to, and like have his ups and downs. But like I'm going to be happy for myself, and I can't rely on him to my happiness because it was way too depressing for me to like try and follow anybody else. It's hard enough to follow myself on my ups and downs being an emotional person, let alone trying to follow my own ups and downs with his ups and downs. Like it was a nightmare, to be honest. It was like
it's a shit show.
It's a shit show.
That's why we literally almost got divorced like 3-4 years ago. Like, and we'll probably talk about it in future episodes, but that was the breaking point.
It was the breaking point.
Yeah, the breaking point. And we talked about it after we went to couples therapy and all that stuff. And that was one of the things that we talked about is that for me, it felt like a burden was lifted off of my shoulders when I felt like she kind of stepped into her own self and stopped being what religion told her to be growing up, which was be Travis's wife, be Mrs. Chappell, and that's it.
Yeah.
And so when she stepped into being like Jacqueline and being who she was supposed to be and like almost like released me from the pressure of holding her happiness in the palm of my hand, that's when our marriage like went to a different level.
Yeah, for sure.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm so happy for you guys. I think we've done good work here today. I feel like we should just call this counseling. I feel like I'm a marriage
feels like I'm sitting like this for sure.
No, I think this is great. I think we continue on this route. We'll come back next week. Thank you both for being so open today. I think we learned a lot about each other.
Okay.
So,
if you're listening right now, watching right now, give us a rating and review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Join the Facebook group, figuringitout.tv. If you're looking for more people that are just trying to figure it out, that's a good place to go. So we'll see you there. We'll see you somewhere else.
Go have amazing sex tonight.
Yes.
We support you.